Hey, Caleb. Thanks for talking with us for our Ask a Season Leader interviews. How's it going?
It's going good. Thanks for having me.
And it sounds like you're in an airport right now. What are you up to?
Yeah, I'm doing a little last minute touches, if you will, on some of the NFR stock down in Vegas. So in the mix of flying back home from there.
Now, are you allowed to tell us about any of the stock selections yet?
Nope, not yet.
Uh,
It'll come out probably the end of the week, maybe first of next week. So it's all hush hush. Everybody's gonna find out when everybody finds out.
all right. Are you excited though?
I am very excited. I think we put together a good bunch of horses. There's a good bunch of guys. Looking forward to it.
All
I'm also
right.
really looking forward to the CFR that's in a week.
We're getting closer and closer. Another exciting thing happened for you last weekend. Can you tell everyone what you did?
Yeah, I've got this new thing on my finger. I got married last weekend to a very beautiful, amazing woman. Savannah and I got hitched last Saturday and didn't take a honeymoon, as you can see, because I'm kind of working, if you will. So she's at home. I got to go enjoy Vegas in the sunshine for a little bit, and I guess I told her our honeymoon would be CFR Red Deer.
It's kind of a cold honeymoon, not exactly a nice destination.
No, it's probably not her number one either. She'll probably make me take her somewhere else, but that'll have to work for now.
All right. Well, win lots of money and you guys can go wherever you want, right?
There we go.
All right. Let's talk about this season. I know that you rodeo all winter long, but when does the season really start for you in Canada?
The season kind of starts around, I don't know, May, I guess. I went up earlier this year than I ever have. I went to a couple in April, but I really get going up there in May. It seems like, I start hitting all those, kind of easing around to those as much as I can. And then I'm up there uh, quite a bit on and off all throughout the rest of the summer. Cleartail after that last one in Armstrong.
Now, is there a reason that you came up earlier this year?
Yeah. Uh, Personal goals, I guess, would be the biggest thing. I wasn't too impressed with my decision after last year and not going to the CFR. And I set out for a new goal this year to kind of make a statement in my own mind, I guess. And I had one thing on my mind, and that was to win season leader and go in and win a Canadian title.
And you've got one of those accomplished already. You really did have an awesome year in the CPRA. You already won a title. You're the Finning Pro Tour champion. Let's talk about some of those rides at those Finning Pro Tours that got you to it. What were some of the standouts for you for your own rides?
Anoka was huge for me. Ending up second to Richie there was a huge jump in the standings for me. Huge for the tour standings there, and I drew some really good horses. Started with Kessler's Critical Smile. In the long round was 87 and some change, and then went on and had heck, I can't remember what I had in the short round now. I just remember Explosive Skies in the shootout round and how bucky she was. But oh, I had Zulu Warrior. That's right, and she was awesome. It was 89 to win that short round, and uh, yeah, the tour rodeos up there and some of those rides. I probably had some of the highest marked rides I've had in a while up in Canada this year, but I drew phenomenal and did what I could to take advantage of it.
I remember 2 years ago when the Finning Pro Tour was first named and we started streaming them on Flow. I talked to you and you said the going to rodeos that are on the Finning Pro Tour for you are about rodeoing smarter, not harder. Was that the situation then for you this year?
Yep, yep. I feel like I might have rodeoed a little harder this year than I normally do. Um, but then again, like that, not much. I did go to a few more rodeos up there and a few more rodeos down here in the States than what I normally do. I think a lot of it had to do with just a couple of the goals I guess I'd set in mind, and I wanted to make sure I accomplished those and got to those. And still tried to be somewhat smart about it, especially towards the end of the year. I was a little battered and bruised. Um, so I tried to get on the good ones and save myself for those ones and um, sit on the sidelines with the bad ones.
Now, you said you're battered and bruised at the end of the year. What was going on?
I was battling my wrist and hand. Well, what we thought was in my wrist actually ended up being I broke a small bone in my hand, causing a bunch of pain to go up through the wrist. Had nothing to do with the wrist at all. But so yeah, for the last, I guess from almost, I want to say it was about Calgary on, I was riding with a broken bone in my hand and had no idea clear up until after Pendleton. Pretty much the last rodeo of the season that I went to, I went to. So, but they said all is good now. It might be a little sore here and there leading up and obviously coming into the CFR because it's a little quicker comeback than what they wanted me to have. But they said you can't really injure it or do much worse to it. So I'm going to give it a whirl.
What does that feel like? Obviously that riding hand is very important as a bareback rider, especially can you feel it in the middle of your ride, or does it come on after?
It's mainly after that the pain and the pressure really flares up in there. I did go get on one, I guess, after I found out about it 2 weeks later at Pendleton. I went and got on a Mona, and I didn't feel it till about 6 seconds into that ride, and it was the most pain I'd felt in a while, though. But I mean, it was the first time I'd given it a little time off, and all the inflammation was finally out of it, and it actually felt really good, and I felt really good getting on. It's just about that fifth jump, it didn't quite agree with the situation I was in, but we got by, and heck, I've had a few weeks off now, and everything's feeling good, and I feel pretty good, and I'm ready to rock.
Awesome. We talked about some of your favorite rides of the season. Anyone else stand out to you, or any other rides from the CPRA season that were really impressive to you?
Oh shoot, I'm sure there's a bunch of them. Of course, it seems like every time I turned around, my traveling partner Richie was nickel and diming me to death and stepping it up and beating me somewhere. So he had a couple of really good rides, you know. Kai Marshall's been riding phenomenally well. Of course, he's, you know, I don't know. I guess there's so many. I couldn't really think. I was trying to think back to Armstrong because it seemed like everybody there finished so good, so strong, you know. And we both went to Merritt and then Armstrong. And I remember Richie beat me at Merritt, and he come back and was 87 or something and beat me at Armstrong. And no, Clint Lace actually at Armstrong. That ride does stick out. I'm pretty sure he won the Tour Finals there, and he made a heck of a bareback ride to kind of finish off his season up there and finish off the tour.
All right. So we had some fans submit questions for you too on social media. So I'm going to hop into some of those, and then we'll talk a little more about CFR. But we have a fan named Dylan. He would like to know what got you started and how did you start? So I guess what gave you the drive to start being a bareback rider, and how did you get started?
You know, I grew up kind of in a rodeo-based family. Always been around horses and stuff. I was a steer rider, junior bull rider, all growing up. Started with the sheep, and I guess I was about 12 years old, and I had some good friends that were already riding bareback horses, and they kind of said, "Here, try this." And I started trying it actually in junior rodeos for all-around points. So I wanted to win the all-around. And the more and more I did it, the more and more I liked it. And I don't know why, because I get knocked out, hung up, drugged around. But I just, there was something there I craved. And it had been when I was probably 14, coming on 15, freshman in high school, when everything clicked. And I started kind of learning how to use my feet, learning to ride horses, learning to actually lift and do the mechanics of the whole deal. And from then on, I was hooked. Took it from there and won a couple state titles and into college. And now it's just as bad as whiskey to a drunk. I guess it's in my blood. I crave it. I love it. I get excited about it. And yeah, I guess that's about it.
Sounds like you got started really early. Is there anything that has come along with that now that you're, a few years into your career? Do you feel like you started too early, or did things just line up just right for you starting that young?
No, you know, I don't recommend that. Um, and I've told kids or you know parents that have asked me, I don't recommend starting that early at all. I didn't let my little brother start riding bucking horses till he was 16 years old. When he was old enough to bench his own weight on a bench press, you know, and kind of mature and carry his own, then he was ready to go. And I wish someone would have grabbed me by the side and said, "Hey, give it a couple more years. Let your body mature. Let your bones mature, and be more developed when you go." Because I know I hurt in places nowadays that I shouldn't, and I think it's just from starting at a young age.
Now, that kind of leads into our next fan question here, and maybe it's the same advice, but Justin would like to know what is the best advice you would give a junior?
Hold out as long as you can. Um, your our bodies are an amazing thing. They'll learn to grow, adapt, and grow strong if you let them. But the sooner and quicker you beat them up doing this sport, and it's a rough one, the more aches, pains, and bruises you're going to have to carry along the way when you really have a chance to make a living doing it.
Is there something that you think a kid could do though? Getting on the spur board, riding steers, something like that, that you feel is a good way to start before your body's really ready to get on a bareback
Yeah,
horse?
yes, the mechanics of it are on the ground are key fundamentals. So, I mean, any kid that's got hopes and dreams and wants to do this, go get on a bucking machine, go get on a spur board. Those are awesome mechanics. You know, my little brother did that for 4 years before he finally got on his first one. And his first horse, he slid up, nodded, and it looked like he'd already been on 50. But I think it's just that it was so drilled into his mind by then. He knew what to do, even though he really didn't know what to do. If that makes any sense at all. So yeah, and one thing I've really noticed a lot of down here in the States is these kids will get on, these junior high level kids will get on and put a rigging on a steer. If you want to start that young, start on a steer. They have a lot more timing. They're not going to hurt you, and there's actually something you can learn from that.
I remember that in high school rodeo, Clint Lace is about my age, and it was the same thing. He just rode the spur board over and over and over, and he might have come out and won our provincial finals in his first year of bareback riding, if I remember correctly. Just because, and it was like you said, it was like he'd already been on 50 when he was first cracking out.
Yeah, and nowadays you see what kind of a force he is to be reckoned with. That kid rides amazing. He's still young. He's healthy. He's strong, and he's got a good head on his shoulders. That's a prime example right there of what taking care of yourself at a young age will do for you. Like it'll go a long ways and probably win Canadian titles and world titles.
Now, our next fan question, we've got a couple that are directly related to some tips that some of these young guys would like. Eli would like to know what's a good way to keep your shoulders squared on a bucking horse?
Sometimes I'm not the best at it either. One thing for me that's really helped me out is trying to pinch your shoulder blades together, Eli. Do the best you can to drive your chin down and drive your shoulder blades back. And if you focus on that, that'll help a bunch. Um, One other thing, if that doesn't help, try to really focus on pushing your belly button to the sky. Because if your belly button's being pushed out, then your shoulders got to roll back. So there's a couple little hints for you and little reminders.
Awesome. Shad would like to know what brand is your rigging?
It's a bar stove, Okie high lift.
All right. And then Haley would like to know what your secret is to your mental game.
Ooh, secret to my mental game, Haley. I read a lot of books. I really do, and believe it or not, I have a freaking awesome traveling partner, and he's got probably a stronger mental game than I do, and he helps me out with that quite a bit, keeping me pretty level-headed, not overthinking things. But one of the best things that's been for me and helped me in the last few years is reading mental, I guess, positive thinking or mental thinking books, ones that pertain to kind of the mental aspect when pressure is put on your shoulders and everything else. One of my favorite ones, and I recommend to everybody, is called With Winning in Mind. I can't remember the author right now, but With Winning in Mind, and it's probably the best book, and there's a lot that in the rodeo world you can relate to in that book.
Awesome. I love stuff like that too. I think Mind Gym is one of my favorite ones too. And I think that's something that's so underrated still in rodeo. It's something we talk about a heck of a lot more now, but I think there's a lot of rodeo people out there that if they just up their mental game a little bit, they'd go a lot further.
Oh, a lot further. It turned over a new leaf for me in the last just 3 years. I've only been getting into reading in this mental game preparation for probably the last 3 or 4 years now, and it's changed my career.
All right. Last fan question comes from April. April would like to know, what is your favorite part about rodeoing?
Everything. I think one of my favorite things about rodeo, though, period, would be the friends, the friendships, and basically the families that you make along the way. Rodeo is such a great sport, such an amazing atmosphere, and you're not going to meet better people than what you do going up and down the road. And the friendships and basically families that I have going all over the country, Canada, U.S., is truly heartwarming and truly a huge blessing in my life. And I cherish that and love that more than anything.
All right. As you mentioned, we've got a pretty big rodeo coming up in Red Deer, Alberta soon. Lay out the CFR for fans that have never seen it before, and kind of from your perspective as a bareback rider, what's the CFR for you?
CFR means a lot to me. Um, like I said, it was on my mind first of this year. I mean, I probably bought my CPRA card 2 or 3 months before I even needed to, but it's huge. It's a goal of mine to be there. One, goal of mine to win it, the average and everything there. But I want to take home that Canadian title probably worse than anything. And I've watched a couple of buddies do it, been happy and proud for them. And there's been a couple of times when I've seen guys do it, and I don't think they understand what they've just done. Because to me, winning a Canadian title would be just as huge, as winning a world title. And some people maybe not, but I've been trying since 2012 now, coming up there. Some people look at you and think, well, why is it so hard? Well, you got a rodeo for one. The competitors, and the animal athletes are incredible. There's 12 of us instead of 15 like at the NFR, but the competition's no different. If anything, it's just good, if not better. And being there at the CFR, being able to compete with those guys in that atmosphere, with the crowd, the stock, and everything it carries on is just a huge blessing, and I'm looking forward to it.
All right, let's dive into some of those things that you're excited about. Let's talk horses at CFR first. Have you seen the stock selection, and if so, what do you think?
Yeah, I had a chance to go over a few of those horses with some of those guys, and I think it's pretty good. I think it's going to be spectacular. I think we got a great bunch of guys going there in bareback riding, and I think it's going to be a pretty wolfy couple of pens of bareback riding as far as the animals go and the guys go. Of course, we're going to have at least one pen in there that's a little nicer and easier on our arms, which is always nice. But for the most part, the rest of them look pretty wicked. Some fire-breathing dragons in there.
Now, I believe you're starting with the Hopper pen this year, right?
I believe so. I think so. Yeah, that's usually what we go with up there. Give us a little warm up.
Now, that's exactly what I was going to ask. Does it matter to you what order the pens go in? I mean, obviously, you get on what they give you, but is there a pen that you prefer to get on when you're fresh versus one you want to kind of ease into?
Um, no, honestly, I mean, if some guys try to think about it and yeah, we kind of want to warm up, knock the rust off. Some guys haven't been getting on, some guys have, and which I can understand that and see that point. But sometimes some of the best rides I've made are ones that when I've laid off for 3 or 4 weeks and just come back. So for me, it doesn't really necessarily matter that much. We got to get on them throughout the week as it is. So I guess however they see fit, whatever works for them works for me.
All right. I actually talked to a fellow bareback rider, Taylor Price, about these interviews and asked him kind of from his perspective what he'd want to know or some things that he thought would be interesting. And he gave me the statement that titles are won in the E-Pen, and he wants to know what you think is going to happen in that round and what people are going to see.
Yep, and I agree. Titles are won in the E-Pen or the rank pen of any three of those rough stock events, and you're gonna see you're gonna see some guys hit the dirt. You're gonna see some arms get yanked on, and then you're gonna see some guys step up at the plate and knock the ball out of the park. So I think you're gonna see a little bit of everything, and those will be the pens that truly the cream will rise to the top. I think there's some guys there that can dang sure hit some home runs in that pen and be high 80s, 90s, and then there's going to be some young newcomers or something that just maybe can't quite handle the pressure or don't draw the right horse. So it'll be fun watching all week long.
The E-Pen in Canada tends to be no joke. I look back at the NFR E-Pen too, and about a third of those horses were Canadian owned, so might have a chance of being in there at CFR too. Can you kind of, I guess, compare the two, or lay out just the caliber of those horses in that pen?
They go hand in hand. They really do. There's a lot of them same horses you'll see in the E-Pen down in Vegas that are in the E-Pen at the CFR, and it's just, I mean, what can I say? Them Canadian contractors have some bucking Jose's. They really do. You know, there's a lot of good bloodlines up there, and they're big, they're thick, they're strong, and they mean it. You know, and you definitely can't take that away from any of them. You know, Kessler's got a handful that I know probably down here in the E-Pen, and I'm sure they've got a handful up there. Same goes with Calgary. And I remember a couple of years ago, the rankest set of horses I'd ever seen at a finals was 2016 or I don't know, 15, whenever I was at the CFR. And they carried probably 3 or 4 of us out of the arena with bloody noses or had been knocked out or whatever had happened. And I wouldn't doubt if you see that there. I mean, I don't like to see that, but I'm just saying that's the caliber of horses they're taking there. It's the caliber of horses they always have there, and the caliber of riders are going to let it all hang out and try to win first. So there's going to be some bumps and bruises.
So speaking of those riders, let's talk about your competition. Tell me about the other 12 guys.
Oh, you put me on the spot there. I can't remember all of them coming. So
We can do it in sections too. Why don't we talk about the 4 of you that are headed to NFR? So I've got you, Richmond, Clint, and Oren. Let's talk about you guys that are doing kind of double duty this fall.
yeah, um, you know those 3 guys are rank. I mean, there's no doubt about it in my mind. Oren's always rode great. Richie, you know, is a strong rider, very strong. Clint, you know, is a phenomenal bareback rider, and I'm glad to see him back at the NFR and the CFR. He's, you know, had a stroke of bad luck here and there with some injuries, and to have him be back in the saddle and making both is awesome. Um, you can't you can't really talk about them guys enough for their accomplishments, what they're going to accomplish, and the way they ride and cover horses. And actually, out of us 4, I'm more of the veteran than they are. I'm pretty sure I'm older than all of them, so they've got the youth on their side, and I don't. So, but no, those are 3 outstanding competitors, and they're going to give a guy a run for their money. You know, every round they're going to be nodded for first, and there's probably going to be a couple of them that take first.
Now, it really has been a battle between you and Richmond all year. We've talked about it before, though, and that's kind of the plan for you two. You paired up because you knew it was going to be tough between the 2 of you. Can you just explain how that works when you're rolling down the road, basically against your toughest competitor?
You know, you're only as good as your competition. You're only as good as the guys you travel with. And every year, it seems like Richie steps up to the plate, and it helps me step up to the plate. He's really good at making the guy better. He's really good at picking you up when you're down. And having a guy like that that's got the same goals as you, the same mindset as you, not only in the arena but outside of the arena, it's a huge bonus or boost to your mentality, your physical fitness. You're getting up and down the road. You're basically married to these people. You got to get along with them, right? You're in. I mean, I spend more time with Richie than I do my new wife. Like I just we're in the vehicle with each other. We're constantly nagging at each other. We're constantly at each other's throats. But at the same time, we know how to pick each other up and boost each other and continue to try to win. And that's all. That's what it takes. The road will beat you up and beat you to your knees and leave you there if you let it. So you got to have that mentality, and you got to have someone there that has those same goals, has that same drive that you do, because it isn't just lollygagging up and down the road and being a bunch of party cowboys like everybody thinks. There's a lot of behind the scenes physical and mental fitness that go into this to try to be the best. And that's what Richie is for me and helps me do.
All right, let's make our way through the list. Why don't we start at the bottom? Jake Nemo actually rolled up into the CFR. Carney Hamilton was out or declared himself out at injuries. So tell me about Jake.
Jake's a young kid. He went there last year and kicked their butts at the CFR. That kid rides phenomenally well and correct. If you watch him every time he nods his head, he's got his chin down, his shoulders are back. His tree arm's perfect, and he's gonna go at him. He's gonna be kind of the dark horse, if you will. I think coming into the CFR, coming into the bottom man. Some guys might not expect a whole lot, but I know he's coming in with a big punch, and I expect a whole lot out of him.
At the end of the day, too, looking at my list, he's only 21,000 behind. That is a lot of money, but that's really just two go rounds and some change. So, anything could happen.
Absolutely. I don't know. I guess I don't pay attention to the money, but um, my mindset with the finals, I think there's plenty of money there to be won between 6 rounds and an average. It's anybody's game because anything can happen, and the right man at the right time, I think, with this caliber of guys, could step up to the plate and yank the title right out from under anybody.
Next one on the list, number 11, Lyndon Woods. He was one that I saw his name everywhere, especially at the start of the season too. What do you think of Lyndon?
He's a strong kid, and if anything, I think the E pens are going to be his bonus. I think that's a kid that'll kind of step up to the plate and shine in that Bucker pen. He rides strong horses really well, and he is pretty. He is younger, but the kid has all the talent in the world.
What about Cody Lamb?
Cody Lamb's been around, and Cody Lamb rides about anything they run under him really well. He's a lefty, and most of us are righties, so we got a little, battle and feud going on. No, I'm just kidding. We have nothing against him, but no, he is. He's a strong rider, strong competitor, and he's gonna be tough to beat. I forgot old Cody was coming in up there. Yeah,
What about Danton Birch, number 9?
Dan's as good as they come. He's a good guy, a good competitor, and he's been there a couple times now. Always seems to do pretty well. I'd expect him to come with guns ablazing and come a swinging.
All right. We talked about Oren already in number 8. So number 7, Cole Goodine.
Cole's a heck of a bareback rider. He's proved that, I think, in the last few years. He's really stepped up to the plate, and his bareback riding's come a long ways. I haven't seen Cole that much this year, but I'd imagine it'd be just like any other year. He's going to nod his head and go for first.
Cole actually broke his foot this year, so that's why you missed him. He calls it
That's right.
Frankenfoot now. It's a pretty ugly foot.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, that is why I haven't seen him a whole lot. He's been out with an injury, so hopefully he's good to go.
Number 6, Spur Lacoste. You've got a second generationer at CFR.
Yeah, and is this his first year there?
You know what? Now you're putting me on the spot. I'm not sure. It
I
might
I
be. I think it is his first.
I want to say it is for someone, or someone told me that, and I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but no, I was tickled as can be to see Spur get there. I've been watching him ride ever since I've been coming up there the last few years, and the kid tries really hard, and he has been riding better this year, in my opinion, than I've ever seen him. He's riding stronger, he's riding quicker, and he's riding more aggressive, and I think it's helped him out a bunch. He's starting to handle horses a lot better, and I mean it shows. He's coming to the Canadian finals, for the first, I think first time, and I'm pretty excited to see him there. I think he'll do well.
All right. Number 5 is Clint Lace. We already talked about him. Number 4, a guy that's kind of been in that position the last few years and been really steady. Ty Tuftat.
Ty is a very strong bareback rider. Um, I mean, I don't know what to say about that kid because he's gonna ride anything you run underneath him. There's no doubt about it, and he's the type of person that talk about a mental game that doesn't let anything bother him. I mean, he can, if he gets dusted the one night, he'll be back and win first the next night. So I would expect him to be kind of a force there and be tough to beat. Um, Granted, mind you, horses have got to perform too, so we all got to draw the right horses. But I think Ty is going to be a force.
All right. And then last one, because we've already talked about yourself, obviously, and Richmond. Number 3, Kai Marshall, who, in my opinion, Kai is one of the most underrated bareback riders out there. To me, he just looks so
Very.
solid. And but what are your thoughts on Kai?
I couldn't agree with you more. He is, from the time I've been watching him ride coming up there, he is the most consistent bareback rider I've seen. What you see is what you get with Kai. He's a big, strong, farm tough kid. I mean, he packs a punch, and the kid's gonna mark him out and go to him and not miss a lick every jump. and that's just him. And he's gonna ride them whether they're ducking and diving, spinning, blowing, belly rolling. Heck, they might even do backflips. But what you see is what you get with Kai, and he is literally the most consistent bareback rider, I think, even at the CF Star.
All right. So we've gone through the horses. They're going to be tough. The competitors are going to be tough. And along with that, 6 go-rounds means there's 2 types of exhaustion that are going to come up. There's the physical exhaustion from it and the mental. How do you keep yourself going over those 6 go-rounds when you've got those horses and those tough guys behind you, and still stay together both mentally and physically?
I think biggest thing for me anyway is you wake up and find a routine and you stick to that routine no matter what. Um, Whether it be wake up and go for a jog, wake up and go eat breakfast and lay around. I mean, I don't know, go sit in a hot tub, whatever it may be. But biggest thing is find a routine while you're there because those 6 days will catch up with you. Uh, don't find the routine at the bars later either and staying out all night because that'll really catch up with you. I mean, get to bed at a decent hour, find a good, solid, healthy routine, take care of yourself, and biggest thing is take it a day at a time. Take it a go around at a time. Each one of those go rounds there is good needs to be taken like it's a big one head rodeo. That's all you're nodding your head for, an almost $11,000 check each night. Nod your head at like it's one head at a time. Take it one at a time, and let the chips fall where they may. And see what happens. You might end up with that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. You never know.